Have you ever looked to rent space for your business and you've seen terms like gross rent or triple net or CAM charge and you're not sure what they mean? Well, that's what I'm talking about today, so stick around. Hi, welcome back. My name's Joe Brown. I'm a real estate agent with Century 21 List with Beggins located in South Tampa. Now, I said I'm a real estate agent, but I'm also a commercial specialist recognized by Century 21, and I am a candidate for the CCIM designation. And I work with business owners to sell their buildings, and I've worked with tenants looking to lease properties, and there are different terms that we need to be familiar with so we can be better negotiators, right? And so when leasing property, and listen, it's just not tenants leasing. Landlords need to know this, right? If you own a building, you need to know these terms for better negotiation. So let's just, first of all, talk about a building, right? So you own a building. Well, there are costs associated with owning the building. Forget rent, right? I'm talking about building. You have property tax. You have insurance. Maybe you have to pay somebody to take care of the parking lot or the landscape. You need to put money aside for roof repair or air conditioner, right? So those are all different expenses associated with the building. Well, those expenses are passed on to the tenants in different ways. And so these are called rent structures. And so let's talk about some of those structures. So number one is called a gross rent, right? Gross rent. And it means I will pay you, as a landlord, I will charge you not only a base rent, but also the expenses for all these other things. The landscape, the insurance, the taxes, right? I group all of that together and I pass that cost on to you. And so a gross rent. Now, I'll say that. So you have gross rent. So all the money goes to the landlord. Landlord pays everything, right? On the other side, you have the landlord pays very little because all those expenses are passed on to the tenant. And sometimes you'll see this as a triple net lease. And in triple net, there's things called CAM charges, CAM, common area maintenance. So think about an office building. You go in and in suite 300 is the CPA and in 105 is the doctor's office, right? So those offices take care of themselves, but that building has common areas, whether it's the elevator, the foyer, maybe the hallway bathrooms. Those are common areas that the landlord has to pay somebody, janitorial service primarily, to take care of. And so the CAM charges, common area maintenance fees, are passed on to the tenants on proration, right? If everybody rents the same amount of space, then it's equally divided. But really, it's based on a ratio of how much space you rent in the building. But triple net charges are also passed along as far as insurance and taxes. So, and then there's something called modified lease, which is a combination of some, that landlord will pay some and tenant will pay some. typically what you see advertised is gross lease or triple net lease. So just think about that structure, gross lease, triple net. When you see rent advertised, and I say this building is going to rent for $24 a square foot, but that building over there is going to rent for $36 a square foot, which is a better deal? Yeah, you don't know, right? You don't know that the $24 is a triple net lease. So not only are you paying the $24 base rent, you're also paying the triple net charges, which are $10 a square foot. And there could be CAM charges on top of that, $2 or $3 per square foot. Whereas the gross lease is the $36, and that's it, right? So you just can't look at figures and say, oh, 24 is cheaper than 36. Well, what kind of lease is it, right? So now from a landlord standpoint, and also tenants, you need to know this, which is a better option, right? Is it better to advertise gross lease, or is it better to advertise triple net? Because what changes? Not so much the cost of using the space, but insurance changes and taxes change. So if I advertise gross lease and I say I'm only going to charge you $36 a square foot, and we have a 5-year term, that means you're paying $36 a square foot over 5 years. Well, what if taxes go up? And what if insurance goes up? Well, I'm under lease, I'm under contract, only charging you $36. So what does that do to my bottom line? It shrinks my bottom line because my expenses have gone up. That's why the majority of landlords today do a triple net lease. That, listen, the base rent is going to be $24 a square foot. I say 24 because it's easily divided by 12, right? So $2 a square foot per month. But so I advertise $24 a square foot. On top of that, you pay triple net charges, because if insurance goes up, taxes goes up, if the landscape crew starts charging me more, right, I can pass those increased expenses onto the tenant who's still paying $24 a square foot, but the triple net charges have increased. Does that make sense? So from a landlord perspective, their bottom line really does not take a hit because of the increased expenses. Whereas on the gross rent, if taxes and insurance goes up, it affects their bottom line. So when landlords who are using a gross rent go to sell their property, yeah, their bottom line, their net operating income, may actually be lower because of the increased expenses. And so a savvy investor could come in and say, I can live with this for the short term, but when the leases renew, they're going to be triple net leases, and they can secure that bottom line. So, and listen, there's a lot of different rent structures, and maybe next month I can talk about the different rent structures. So, yeah, there's different rent structures, how it's paid, what expenses are passed on to tenants, what are paid by the landlord. It all goes into the lease. I don't think what I've shared is a couple things. One is, when I say space rents for $24 a square foot, that is typically advertised as a year, $24 per square foot for the year. So that means $2 per square foot per month. So you have to read the fine line. You may see something advertised $1.50 a square foot. Well, that's typically per month. So you multiply that by 12, so it's $18 a square foot. So just be careful when you see rent. Also, when you see $24 compared to $36, just don't assume 24 is cheaper, because is it a triple net lease? Is it a gross lease? So here's my word to you if you're a tenant, right? Know your lease. What kind of lease are you under? Know the terms of your lease. And listen, if you need help deciphering some of that, please reach out to me. I'll be glad to review the lease and give you some advice, some suggestions, right? Now listen, I'm willing to do that, but if you are already committed to a broker, use that broker, okay? Right, there's some loyalty there. If you have a broker you use that broker. If you don't have a broker, please reach out to me. With that being said, sometimes a landlord will hire a brokerage to handle their lease. So when your lease comes up for renewal, they're coming to you to renew the lease. It's up to you whether to use that leasing agent or not. It may be in your benefit to look for an outside agent who has your interests at heart and not so much the landlord's, okay? So listen, if you like the video, please put a like. Leave a comment if you have questions about different types of lease and different expenses. Please, I want to know. I want to know your experience. And as I said, about once a month I do a commercial video. If you're interested in hearing that, hit the subscribe button. I want to be your trusted advisor in real estate. So please, you can go to my website, which is joebrown-commercial.c21.com. I have different blogs out there, different information. You can search for properties. I want to be your trusted advisor. Reach out. We can sit down, have coffee. We can talk and see if there's anything I can help you with, okay? So until next week, take care.